You are now listening to T on One Radio, the talk show podcast station, bringing you Inspire Our Podcast, your source for positive mental stimulation and good vibes, uplifting the world in support of peace, strength, wisdom, and faith. The information and resources on this podcast are based on the opinions of the host, unless otherwise noted. All information is intended to motivate, encourage, and inspire positive change and a healthier lifestyle. This podcast may contain some quotations, images, and/or excerpts from copyrighted material. These uses fall well within the copyright doctrine of fair use. Welcome. I am your host, Tony Williams. Hello and welcome. I am Tony Williams. Big shout out goes to everyone who's listening right now via the podcast for the Inspire Hour podcast, as well as all the Wisdom app listeners. Welcome and thank you for taking the time to be here. Today's topic is normalcy. What is it and how to cope with change? Now, I think this is a really big one, and I think it's really important for us to talk about it because it affects so many different things. And I know you're probably thinking, normalcy, how does that? I mean, we learned a little bit when the pandemic hit. It made everyone stop and reevaluate a lot of things. But before that point, we really were not paying close enough attention to see how even the idea, or shall I say the concept of normalcy, even affected us every day in every aspect of our lives. So normalcy, what is it? It's truly an idea and a concept. And why do I say that? Well, let's think about it. Normalcy. Who gets to define that? Who gets to decide what is normal? And do we know who they are? And once they do, is that a deciding factor for every individual person on the planet? Yeah, pretty much so. Now, normal, what can be considered as normal is the question. What do you consider as being normal? Now, when we think of normal, we think of behaviors and lifestyles and work ethics and dating and relationships, religion or non-religion, fashion, technology, and health. Normalcy is truly the perception. It's truly a perception. It's how it's viewed. And who is viewing it? Because everybody is different. So it's basically each individual viewing their own particular lives and in which they live them to be considered the norm. So basically we have millions out of billions of people running around saying, I'm normal. Well, we can all say that. But what's the real deciding factor there? Who truly can say what normal really is? What do you all think about this? How do you all approach the concept of normalcy? And I'll go back to the pandemic because that's a major one that it affected every person. Every person. Whether you caught COVID, you lost someone from COVID, you lost a job behind COVID, because there are people still losing their jobs behind COVID. So what's normal? Let me use myself for an example. With my husband and I, we're more to say homebodies. We're homebodies. We'll go visit the grandchildren, check on the children, and we'll do our grocery shopping, doctor's appointments. But other than that, we're back at home. So when the pandemic hit for us, it really wasn't anything abnormal for us because we're already the type of people who like to be at home. But for everyone else, we sat back and watched how so many people reacted. Now, mind you, we're in a rural area, out in the country, dirt roads, no neighbors for miles. So we were, to a certain degree, unaffected socially. We didn't do a lot of the social hour down at the lounge playing pool or car shows, just whatever anyone likes to do with their spouse, mate, whatever, or even friends, hang out. Now, see, that's where we notice the biggest difference. We got to hear family members say, hey, this shit is not normal. What's not normal? I can't go to a club. Okay. That doesn't bother you? No, this is normal for me. This is apparently abnormal for you. I get it. Well, how the hell are you dealing with it? Because it's normal for us. So there's nothing really to deal with on that aspect. So what can I do to help you? Because you're reaching out for help. You guys see where I'm going with this? It was like a lot of people were freaking out, and I could understand why. Because at one moment, okay, you're going out on Fridays or the weekends or whenever you go out, you're going out to hang out with your friends and, commingle, or you're out there dating, whatever the case may be, and now you cannot that same way. I understand that has affected you. Stop, take a breath, breathe. Because before this, you weren't really paying attention to the idea of not being able to do this on a regular basis. Maybe for lack of funds or something like that, or you had to take care of some business, so you have to put that money away. And you were unable that weekend to go. Even with flying and everything else. What you decide as normal for you is normal for you. And I also put up there in the title, and how to cope with change. Because a lot of people during this pandemic had to learn how to cope with this big change. Because it just didn't affect a little small group of people. This was internationally. This made the whole world literally damn near stop. Yeah, damn near stop. Because you had to stop doing what you normally do to do something different. And for that many people at one time to have to do that, everybody's not the same. So their coping skills are not the same. And you were on lockdown with somebody who you maybe had been married to for some years and didn't realize certain things about them until that time. Or you never thought that you would leave that one job. Like, this is my job, this is what I'm going to have, I'm going to retire from this job. Well, when the pandemic hit, it flipped that for a lot of people. It brought about change. Some people tried to drink it, some tried to smoke it, some tried to argue it. I mean, however people deal with tragedy, crisis, like everything. You could not just say, you know what, I'm going to go down to the local bar and have me a drink because you pissed me off. You couldn't do that. So either you had to have a place at home where you could go and sit down and have a drink and be away from that person for a certain amount of time to cool off. Some people began to do DIY, which I found was very positive for a lot of people to do. And I suggested to quite a few people. I did DIY beforehand, so it just gave me more time. I knew nobody was popping up at my house. And you see, the difference in normalcy. It's different for everybody. And it's been that way, even before the pandemic. So what does the normal concept, because it is just a concept, what did it affect even before? Well, over the years, the idea of normal has in fact changed and is ever changing as it relates to how we how we behave, how we think, how we act on a personal level, how we interact on a personal level, as well as business, or even just simply as a citizen. It has indeed affected country, state, and international laws, and that is even before the pandemic. It's the idea of, okay, a child is going to be born, their first year of life, they're going to learn to do this, they're going to begin to do this, and that is somewhat of a safety net idea to give you an idea of what normally should take place in the development of a child, right? Well, we've been fed this in schools as we got older, and we relied on what we were taught during those different periods of our life, what normalcy is. But the thing about that is, no matter how much they tried to teach us, there were a lot of things that were left out. And the bad part about this is normal for information to get left out in some periods. Because if things were not thought then the way they are now, then yeah, we had to figure out some things that we didn't learn then. It's almost like when you're at the age of getting ready to leave high school, going to college, you're going out on your own to experience life on your own without your parents. Which in the beginning you thought, oh, that's going to be abnormally fun. That was the thought. That was how you perceived it. Nobody's telling me what to do, what I have to do, this, that, and the other. Oh, I'm about to be free. No, not necessarily. Because now you're going to a school. If you went to college, you went to this school, and there were rules you had to follow there. So you're like, okay, crap. So there are some rules, so it's not too abnormal. Well, I'm going to try this. And then you begin to try different things without your parents, without your guardian, outside of the school to try things, experiment, test. And as you do so, you learn. And you end up either changing things about your life or how you interact with people in life, or even just learning totally who you are inside, what you like, what you don't like. So whereas before you left to go to college, what was normal was, I got a curfew, I got to be home by a certain time. I can't necessarily just cook and eat what I want. I can't go and come as I please because I have parents. There's authority keeping me from just going buck wild or just being able to go and eat where you would like to. It's always the idea of what normal is. Now see, let's take all the people in the world. If you go and take a visit to every person, which would take forever, but you take a trip to each person's house, and you might see something and say, wait, I didn't know we could do that in our house. Or I never thought to do that in the house or with my house or set my bathroom up this particular way. Or you might see something and say, oh, hell no, that's not going in my bathroom. Or I wouldn't be able to function with that in my kitchen. It's someone else's normal. And it is going to be that way. Way back in the day, what was normal in dating? I mean, we can go back to the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s, but how was dating back then, which was viewed as the normal? Before you went anywhere, your parents pretty much had picked out your husband or your wife. The families came together and discussed this. Okay, that was the norm back then. Now, not so much so. Not so much so. So it's like, who decided? Okay, well, I guess with dating back then it would have been the parents who taught their children, who taught their children, and that's how we ended up with that back then. Now, is it TV? Is it radio? Is it what we see? That determines how we decide, okay, so my normal would be, this guy has to come and meet my father. My father was a single father, so it would have been for me, this guy had to come to the house and meet my father. My father had to sit down and talk to him before he would allow me to go out on any date. Getting to know who it is I'm associating with. See if this guy's a good egg. The same for the guys. Mom is going to want to meet the girl. Make sure she's good stock, as they would say. But that was the norm for back in the 80s to a certain degree. Because the old school thing started falling away. I mean, no matter how far you go back and come forward to now, you're going to see the major differences. So how did we cope with it? How did other people cope with it? And who made the rules? Now, if you're listening and you have some sort of idea, let me know. I would love to hear it, and I would appreciate it. On Wisdom app, come forward. You can join the panel. On YouTube and the podcast, you guys can just comment down at the bottom. But how does your normalcy, how do you think it's viewed by another person? Just as you view other people's normalcy. Like, no, that's not normal for me. This guy runs around in pink tights. No, I'm not that type of dude. Of course, you're like, okay, no, that's not normal for you. That's like the whole key. It's just like me. I would look like, okay, well, no, I'm not going to wear my skirt that short. My husband would not appreciate that, but that's just my normal. Their normal is different. And how do you cope with it when you do not agree with it? And that right there is a major thing, because so many people have so many different views and concepts of what normal is, to the point to where they're like, you have some that pretty much believe and think and feel and breathe this, that no, only their normal is right. Everybody else is wrong. That can be a deciding factor in what job you take, who you marry. And that's the biggest part of talking to people, to understand who they are and how they view and see things. That's friendships, co-workers, everything. I mean, because could you work for a boss that you knew was just deeply, deeply, deeply rooted and seated, full of problems, that could destroy not only the company, but you as an employee? What that boss sees as being normal is not what you see as being normal. So is there a confrontation? Do you take the job? Or if you're already on the job, do you quit the job? So things like that, when it comes to normalcy, it is and can be a deciding factor. When it comes to laws and all, the people that are making the laws in which we're supposed to be living by, because they're representatives of us, we the people, if they're making some laws that doesn't make sense, what do we do about it? How do we cope with that? We go back and we get it right? Like, no, you can't represent us because you're talking about making something stupid a law that is going to destroy some things. You're like, nah, we're not putting him back in any type of official position. You just don't want to do that because it is destroying everything, right? But if you knew that person, after speaking with them, after watching how they move and listen to how they speak, and you see that they got some issues, like, you're not going to put them in a very big decision-making space because you're not really going to trust what they're doing. You're not going to really trust that their normal is okay for you and your family as well, for it to be a law. It's the same in religion or non-religion. Some things on either side is viewed as, that's not normal. Like, how the hell could that possibly be normal? But be able to maintain and have a conversation with keeping the peace. In church, on a bus stop, at your job, wherever it may be. Because conversations happen. And how they go can can really determine some good or bad things taking place. Because there's always going to be change. And it's always ever changing. 40 years from now, the way we viewed a lot of things today are going to be seen as, what the hell were they thinking? That was not helpful for healthcare. That was not cool for fashion. That technology was a waste of money. They went the long way to achieve this when this was actually a better, safer, cheaper alternative. I mean, it affects everything. Just the idea of what is normal. Financially, emotionally, physically, mentally. The idea of normalcy can have an effect on every aspect of life. And that's just what it is. And that's the raw straight to it. It affects everything. Because let's think about healthcare. Back, way back in the day. They thought that the drug cocaine was proper to be used as medication. That was their perception back then. That's what they thought back then, and that was the norm. That was what was normal. Well, I have a headache. I'm gonna, I don't know, pop, snort, however the hell they did it with the cocaine, but it was used for medicinal purposes. They even had it in soda, for God's sakes. Like, you can do your research on this. You'll find it very quickly. But this is exactly what I mean when I say normal. What's normal? Who gets to decide it? What's normal for you may not be for anyone else. What's normal for past time period is illegal now. Like laws, health, it all comes into play just by the concept of what is normal. It's like now children's behavior. It's normal to not want to necessarily punish them. I don't know why the hell that is, but they're going to learn the hard way. Back in the day, punishment was one of the stable keys of discipline and child rearing. Not so much anymore, and now we have all this excess mess going on. Because they changed what was normal in child rearing and even created laws to say certain states you cannot spank your child. That child can be acting a pure D ass, and one ass whooping could be the deciding factor in that child learning to respect authority and not having what we're having now as far as crime, as far as the youth killing and dying. A lot of unwed mothers. Like, so much could be, but it's that idea of normalcy. What's normal? Well, now it's no longer normal to spank your child. Now it's no longer normal to sit down and get to know people before you decide to have sex. Because that's how that child could be made. Normalcy. Well, it's normal for a group of females to go out and party and sleep around. To whereas back in the day, that was not normal. That was viewed so much more different, therefore it was not so popular to do. It's the normalcy. Well, now, as a young boy, he can go and he can look at television and he can see, oh, it's normal for a guy to be kissing another guy in a music video or whatever. Oh, that's normal. Oh, okay, so I guess that's, so mom, dad, I think I want to, you see what I'm saying? Instead of actually truly letting those, if he really had those feelings, to come later in life when he felt them, not when he was showed them. It's that difference of what's normal. It's what is accepted and what isn't. And it perpetuates certain standards. It's that normalcy in dating, working, marriage, in working, sleeping your way to the top. Nope. Not good. But it's a certain normalcy now to do so. I mean, for foreseeable future generations to come, what's going to be normal for them? Are we going to have, they're not going to be able to get regular manual labor jobs if they chose to because there's going to be robots there? So that's out for them. Robots for doctors. So is that going to be a fleeting idea later? That's not going to be normal anymore for a human to be a doctor or to drive ourselves around. Like, what's normal defines our lifestyles. Everyone looks at what's normal and they pick from it and say, okay, no, that's not normal for me. How do I deal with these people who feel like this is the normal? Keep your cool, be patient, and mind your ABCs. You can cope. Everyone likes to argue, and I've noticed this in the last couple of years. It seems the last 5 years. Let's say the last 5 years, because I've noticed more and more people argue so much. Everything has to be so dramatic that it has become the norm. So now we also have people who can no longer properly and effectively communicate and or listen to one another because it is the norm to be yelling and screaming and throwing drinks and doing all these other just outlandish type of behaviors. Like, no, that's not how you have a conversation. You cannot solve anything by being argumentative, throwing things, or yelling, and you're not even thinking or listening to be able to think about what it is the person is saying, to be able to understand what they're saying, to be able to come together to come up with a solution to the problem, or even just simply to be able to stop and say, you know what, let's agree to disagree respectfully. No, because that's not what we see on TV. That's not what we see in apartments down the street. That's not what's advertised. It's not perpetuated on TV as to be able to sit down and stop and talk, because drama, anger, and so much dysfunctionality within families, relationships, work situations, this is all what's being shown to us and to our children, which has become the norm. So it desensitizes. So that's another factor. What does normalcy and the concept of normalcy, what else does it affect? I just said it. Like, it affects so much. So much. How we decide we're going to grocery shop, what we're going to put on the grocery list, what car it is we're going to drive, what color we're going to wear that day, how many phone calls am I going to check, how many emails should I be checking. Like, it, whatever each individual person's normal is for them, that's all we see. We don't really stop and take a good look around us because we've been too busy. We've been too busy. We see so much, and our brain gets so much sifted through it per day. No, let's back that up. Let's go per hour. Because in an hour, you can be done thought about so many things. Especially when the outside factors like TV, radio, internet, all these things. Oh, okay, so it's normal to do. It's normal to be after the bag, not really love a guy, or to be like whatever it is that comes across your mind. That becomes the normal. You got to get the most expensive car. You got to have the best job. You have to do this. You have to do that. Who is saying this? The people who are trying to sell you these things? Is this the normal for them? Is this what they see as people's norms? To be able to use it in marketing? Like, you really have to stop and take a look at the idea and concept of what is normal. Now, the house down the street could be 2 men with 4 adopted kids. The house going the other direction, or even across the street, is set up differently. It's 2 elderly people, or 2 women, or a man and a woman, and no kids, or a man and a woman and a bunch of kids. Each individual household has their own normal. And when you put several different families together, groups together, whatever you want to call it, within the same vicinity where they're having a conversation, something is going to go left because of the idea of what is normal, as well as the normal thing seems to be reject all other ideas. You catch that? Reject all other ideas and only think this particular way. Something's going to go left within that conversation because everybody's normal is different. There's no longer the normal concept of when you listen to someone speak, you actually listen to what they are speaking. What is it that they're saying? What is it that they're not saying? What are you taking from it? What are you understanding from it? Before, you would decide, okay, I heard two sentences. Let me think of an argument for those two. Like, versus hearing what the person was actually saying, what points they were trying to get across to you, you're already thinking of a way to just completely demolish the first 2-3 sentences that person said because that's what you didn't agree with off the top. You might have been looking for an argument, which, sadly enough and oddly enough, is a normalcy for some people as well, to search for an argument. Like they should have been debaters or lawyers, but they chose to do something else in which those particular skill sets that they have, they're trying to use in that area, which could be detrimental if you're an employee of an employer and not agreeing with what they're saying, or you're a wife of a husband who's never just really sat down and truly listen to what he thought and how he said he felt about XYZ. And that's the very thing you did because you didn't listen. Or because the normal is, okay, he's finna mansplain. I ain't really gotta hear what he's saying. Yeah, you do. And the same with when your children talk to you. Oh, that's jibber jabber. They're young. They don't know what they're talking about. And you discredit it. Because it's the normal. It's what you viewed as normal. Whereas that other person does not view that as normal. They're like, wait a minute. Now, I should be able to tell you how I feel without being attacked by saying how I feel about how you, A, either talked to me or B, treated me at a barbecue, or how I felt about you speaking to your ex, or how I felt about you working so much that you don't have time for me. Like, you can miss a lot and end up. And this is based on normalcy. Because it's normal for you as a woman, you're like, look, yeah, you're the man, so you pay all the bills. I'll, do what I want to do. And this is just the way this is working. Well, see, that may be a problem. That might not be the normal for him. His thought may be, okay, did she not listen to me before we got married? I wanted to do things 50-50, We both kind of, So this has been the norm. Like, damn, that's not how I wanted that. And then there are divorces, there are breakups, there are, friends falling out behind what the concept of normal is. Normal thinking, normal behavior, normal reactions. And that's something else. People's reactions to things are different from how they were before. So whereas before you mentioned the word alien and it's like, do what? We're not talking about such things. Those things don't exist. Well, that was the normal back then. Now, the government is even coming out saying, hey, we have seen incidents of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. And then other people are going, no shit, Sherlock, we've been seeing this. This is normal now. This is normal to see shit that you can't explain is flying in the sky and this, that, and the other. So whereas some years back, that was not a normal thought. That was not a normal occurring event. Everything was on the shh. We don't talk about this. Just like way back in the day when You didn't openly talk about sex. That was the norm. And it's interesting because I've asked a couple of elders this question when it pertains to them not wanting to talk about sex back then. It's like it's not normal. No, you find out once you get married and your first night in the sack with your husband and wife, that's when you find out what sex is about. Wait a minute. How is that? Like, why were we not talking about this? That could have solved so many problems there. But the normal was, shh, you don't talk in public about sex. You don't talk about body parts. You don't talk about what type of clothing you wear or what you do in the bedroom or what's not right in the bedroom or just XYZ in the bedroom. The bedroom just was not discussed. That was the normal back in the day. Now we're all finding out a bunch of shit we would have rather appreciated to know about. I mean, am I the only one that's thinking that? Maybe so, but hey, that's my normal when it comes to thought. But it's like the very argument right there. How can we cope with the way the changes are coming and how fast they're coming? Because they're coming super freaking fast, if you ask me. It's like a deer being caught in headlights. Like you see this huge ass truck coming. Do you have time to cope? Well, the normal would be a deer is just going to be stuck there. And you might catch that one buck, go to hell with that. I'm not finna be the normal. I'm finna get the hell out the way. It changes by each individual's personal view. You might have been raised as, say, a Baptist child. Okay, so the norm is you grow up, you date a Baptist woman or man, then you marry a Baptist woman, man, then you, as a matter of fact, you get married in the Baptist church. You have and raise Baptist children. You know, that, it's an idea, it's a concept, right? It's a concept. Because reality sets in and you may be at a point in your life where you're like, oh, I mean, it was okay for me when I was growing up. You know, it did help me get through a few things. That might have been right for me then, but that's not right for me now. That's not my norm. My normal is I meditate instead. Or I go fishing instead. Or I read the Bible at home myself instead. The normal is truly a concept because everyone has free will. Everyone has free will to decide, okay, I'm not going to go to this particular doctor because I don't believe in how they do things and I don't think that's normal nor right. Okay, your choice. And you go to some other doctor. Or you go to some other religion. Or you experiment with your life until you figure out who and what the hell it is you want. And that itself is even considered normal. Every person goes through that as well. But it changes. You can see from when you were a youth to high school to college, grad, you're out there, you're dating, now you're married, now you done had kids, and you're looking like, we didn't do that crazy shit. What is this? Where did this come from? It is the new, quote unquote, normal. Not your normal or our normal. It's that generation's normal. So that's why it's really important that we actually take a moment to sit back and think about on a personal level as well as a citizen, because that could be a change that some people have been making recently. You have some people switching countries, switching states, just, look, I'm tired of this and how this is ran and how this is did, and this is not normal to me. I want to go where this is done this way, handled this way, spoken this way, the rules are this way. So you're changing your normal. And that is truly ever changing. Because like I say, at some point, the way technology is free flowing and the way it is also controlled, you can look at TV and see the commercials to where they're pitching to us, the consumers, Go green. Buy electric cars. Change your hair color. Your libido low? Here's something for it. You have this problem? Here is the solution. And we're spending money on this. Changing our normal. I mean, it's pitched to the children, it's pitched to the elderly, it's pitched to every age in between. It keeps changing. So we have to learn how to adapt and adjust and keep our castles, our individual castles, happy, healthy, safe, but having an understanding and an open mind to know that there is no one set concept of normal. And we don't have to be rude to people. We don't have to be mean to people. We don't have to argue with people. We can maintain the peace and understanding and know, okay, that's that person's normal. I'm not going to judge them for their normal because I don't have to live their life. They do. Because you never know. You might end up having to work for that person one day. Or that might be the doctor that has to save your life. So we don't want to put all this bad karma out there and mix it up right along with what's supposed to be normal. You understand what I'm saying? It's normal to have questions. It's normal to have doubts. That's like the baseline of normalcy right there. Because we're human. So we have that baseline of normalcy. If you don't know something, you ask a question. If it's not yours, you ask for permission. Like that's part of the baseline. We're all infused with it. Hopefully, we all are, but some are not. But hey, it's their normalcy, it's our normalcy, and we have to deal with them not knowing what that type of normalcy is. And not hate. Actually try to sit down and understand where people are coming from, to understand their feelings, their emotions, not discredit them, not judge them, and actually be communities. See, the idea of what is and is not normal can destroy communities. It can destroy villages, and it also can destroy countries. It can rip apart your job, your relationship, just by not being able to sit down and listen to one another and observe and take into account that everyone has their own thoughts, feelings, ways of doing things, cultures. I mean, it's so much wrapped up into that if we actually just stopped for a second, took a break, and thought, okay, let me appreciate me for mine and appreciate them for theirs, because I don't want anyone coming at me sideways or disrespecting me or judging me, so let me be that same way. So can we make the new normal not so much as saying acceptance, but actually stopping to think, I really do want people to treat me the way I treat them. I expect for a person to respect me and my normalcy and how I do things and how I was raised or how I choose to live, and not come at me. So you're not in one of those situations where you're like, pop off, bro, or come at me, bro. No, we don't need all that. Understand that everyone's normalcy is just that, their normalcy. And none of us can judge one another for it. We can try to encourage. We can try to motivate. We can try and be a listening ear. Because sometimes people, they just need someone to listen to them. And they might not even make the same decisions and judgments or whatever they were doing before, just based off of knowing the new normal of, wow, somebody is willing to listen to me. Because I wasn't looking for input. I just needed to vent, and I needed someone to listen. And then you can mess around. And after you've done that, they're looking at you like, do you have any advice? And then you can go, oh, okay, well, yeah, here's my advice. Live your life, do what's best for you, and as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else, it's fine. Things happen in life, you'll get past this, and you'll figure it out. And that person can walk away saying, hey, I had these feelings before, but nobody was listening. Now that I've gotten those feelings and thoughts out, I don't like what I heard. Yeah, I don't think that's too normal. That person was right. I don't have to be this way. I don't have to do it that way. Do what's right for me and my family as long as it's not hurting me or those around me. Okay, you know what? I don't think I'm that way at all. And they go on to do something bigger and better, and you've done a good thing. They've done a good thing. Because I'm going to tell you, hurt people. And that can happen based off what is normal. How? Well, let's go down a little dark alley here for a second. I know none of the ladies want to go down a dark alley, but we're going down a dark alley. We're leaving work. We're going down a dark alley. It's late. We just got off of work. But it's near our house. We're going to take this shortcut and go home, walk home. We get mugged, we get raped, we get beaten. A little time goes by, we're still trying to get over the fact that we were raped, mugged, and beaten. So it seems like we can't keep a relationship or a friendship with a male because we're beating them down for not trusting them because they are male. Or vice versa. See, your normalcy was once you can walk anywhere and go home from work. Now your normal is I can't walk anywhere because some dude is around the corner waiting on me. And we have to be able to cope and get over. You'll never completely get over something like that, but you learn how to cope with it. You learn how to work your way and navigate through those feelings, those emotions. Because like I said, hurt people hurt people. That's how that vicious cycle gets going, and it becomes a norm that nobody needs. It becomes a hard to break normal that we've turned this particular part of our life or this season of our life into. Because we weren't able to get over this. So now our love life suffers. Our job may suffer. Because we've made this one of those toxic new norms. And we have to go back to the baseline. Let's take it a step further now. At one point in history, prostitution houses were viewed as somewhat legal profession. Not now. Good or bad. It's up to each individual person to look at it and say, well, when it was happening then, they saw it as providing money for the community, this, that, and the other, XYZ. You go, okay, I can kind of see how it might have been normal to them back then, which they might have thought it was right, or it's just the understanding that we can get out of looking at a situation without judgment, without just totally trashing the idea that this could possibly be normal. Like me, for instance, I was the girl that I was in class. If anyone was ever in class with me, I was that one chick in the back of the class who wore all black. Black hair, black nails. I was a goth chick growing up. I really was. Stop looking at my picture going, no way. Yes way. Because I know y'all doing it. And if y'all on the podcast listening, I know y'all are going through my other videos like, no, there's no way that could have been that way. Yeah, that was my normal then. Other kids did not view me as normal. They thought, oh gosh, if I told y'all all the things that those kids thought, y'all would be like, no, I don't see that being. They thought I was a witch. They thought I was this. They thought I was worshiping the devil. Like, and it's not that way at all. That was my favorite color. I didn't want to wear what every other kid wore. I did not want to follow. I was never a follower. That I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I can't do it now. I refuse. Because I like being different. I like being the weirdo. You know what I mean? I was a weirdo. And to this day, when some of those classmates still see me, they're like, I thought you was going to be psychotic as hell, man. I ain't going to lie to you. We was in school, I thought you was just off the rails. Oh, we have a guest waiting. Oh, welcome in, the guy in the hat. He'll be joining us for this conversation. But they thought, they were like, no, you're psychotic.
Oh, my dear.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I see the roles are reversed now.
Yes, it is. Yes, how are you today?
I am excellent. I love your conversation.
Oh, thank
You know,
you.
I've been fighting hard for this since the weekend. I declared war against the good side and the bad side
Really?
over the weekend.
Mm.
All right, and the bad side are all those people that used to round up us neurodivergent people
Mm-hmm.
and make us feel less than normal,
Right.
calling us special needs, calling us enriched, calling us gifted, calling us savants, calling us autistic, calling us what is it, bipolar, calling us
Yes.
schizophrenic,
Yes.
calling us retarded,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
We are the normal ones, and those singularities that built the whole world,
Mm-hmm.
those singularities, their time is done,
Hmm.
right?
Oh.
We are the new normal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not just me saying that. This is me observing, you know, Bell Let's Talk Day, you
Mm-hmm.
know, hashtag Bell Let's Talk is 1 or 2 days a year about mental illness, right? Like making
Yes.
it normal, making making everyone know that everybody, has some issue,
Yes.
of some kind, and we are no different than everyone else. Like we're not disabled, we're just differently abled. You know what I
Right.
mean?
See, I call it, a lot of people say, oh, they're handicapped. No, they're handicapable. I'm handicapable because let me be clear with all of you listening, and I've said this on my podcast before. I don't know how many people really caught it. I am disabled on paper, but in my mind, I'm very capable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my normal.
That's it.
Right.
And the thing, what I loved about the whole social audio space, that's why I'm social audio's number one fanboy. I'm, Wisdom's welcome wagon.
Yes.
In Clubhouse, I'm like the biggest disruptor,
Okay.
right? Because the only thing that distinguishes us in social audio is the value that we share. It has
Yes.
nothing to do with our bio. It has nothing to do with the alphabet soup. It
Right.
has nothing to do with your net worth, so-called net worth.
Right.
Doesn't matter how pretty you are or how pretty you think you are,
Right.
right? It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or a heathen.
Right.
It it is, the only thing that distinguishes us is how much value do we have, how much wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
is in our portfolio, right?
Right.
Because you have to agree that common sense is very uncommon.
It is. It is.
And those of us with the most of it are the ones that are qualified.
Right. You have to go through
are
something to be able to talk about something.
Yeah, like all of these experts who are running master classes,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're only master on paper. Like how dumb is it that doctor comes after master when doctor is just one of the roads you have to go down
Right.
in order to get to master.
Right. But that's that set standard of a normal. That's really not normal.
Yeah, like how many ways do I have to unpack? This is a broken, messed up.
Oh, you're digitizing over there.
Every time I say that, I get so much pushback. I don't understand, where it's coming from. All these people that think that, oh, love is the answer and love cures all things and we just need to listen to it. Well, guess what? God gave you more than 2 ears and a tongue. He gave you 2 hands. He gave you a brain. He gave you the ability to take a phone number and reach out. He gave you a cash app. He gave you a PayPal. He gave you more tools than just sit there and blow smoke up people's butt.
Right.
Because that's what causes people to rise. But unlike helium and hydrogen, that shit comes back down. As soon as the mood wears off, let's do it.
Okay, so I had to. I'm sorry, sweetie. I had to remove you because you were digitizing. Try and come back in and finish your thought. I would love to hear it. Come on back. And I'm sure everyone wants to, be able to hear and understand you clearly as well. You were kind of digitizing there on us. But it's okay. Let's give that a round two. You're more than welcome to come back. There we go. Okay, so hopefully it should be clearer this time. That way we can get your whole point. And welcome back. Is it better now?
Nexus is calling me back.
Okay, well, let's see how this goes. Say again.
Testing.
Great,
Testing.
great.
Okay, I'll try to talk slower. I'm being pulled back into the Nexus.
Mm.
The Nexus.
Nexus,
is a
let him
place
go.
where, yeah,
Let
the
him
Nexus is
speak.
a place of intergenerational wealth and experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sorry, wealth of experience
Okay.
and knowledge and wisdom. Like it's the place where common sense is common.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these characters, Jesus, Einstein, everybody that's in my encyclopedia is set over there. That's the Nexus. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Nexus is also known as Britannica.
Oh, goodness.
And don't get me wrong, there's other Nexuses out there. I just can't remember the brand. Right? But even Wikipedia is a good place to start. There's no excuse. Ignorance is no longer an excuse.
No, ignorance is it's no excuse. You are right about that. And you're beginning to digitize again.
All right, my dear. I got.
Okay, so I had to let him go. I'm sorry, my love, my beautiful person. But he was absolutely correct. You get you get judged by a lot of people based on what they view is normal and not normal. Because, like I said before, I am, on paper, I'm disabled and I accept what I go through because I have muscular dystrophy, among some other things that I have to go through on a daily basis. Now, that is my norm versus what anyone else's issues may be. And you do kind of get set over and just get thrown in some other category of, I don't know. I don't know what category you want to throw it in, but you do get that way. And like I said, growing up, I was a little chick that was in class with the all black because that was my normal. I was comfortable in it. That was how I felt. And it wasn't like a dark feeling or anything like that. Black is my favorite color. Like I can go to any store and find anything I want to wear, and it's always going to be there in black. Some items are not even made in any other colors. That's just my color. So I'm going to go for that anyway because that's my comfort. Like I love that color. Now, I looked abnormal to the other children, but when I spoke, it raised teachers' eyebrows. Kids kind of were taken back like, oh, you're not, no, I'm not retarded or I'm not a sadist just because I look this way. I'm not a princess of darkness and all that. That is your perception. You stuck me in a category that I didn't even belong in. But the cool part about it was I knew and understood who I was and what I liked and didn't like and what I was willing to deal with and not deal with. I spent a lot of time around adults because, like, for some reason, my youth growing up, it wasn't a lot of kids around. And I didn't really feel comfortable with the way a lot of children at my school behaved and act and did because me being a preacher's daughter, those things were not some things that I partook in or was used to. So I kind of kept a distance. And it was cool that way because when everybody got in trouble, my name was never there. But I was the one that if you look at me, you like, that kid there has got some issues. True enough, I did have issues, but I made the best and I coped with what cards I was given and the normalcy that I came to know and even understanding that normalcy could change. And it was going to be ever changing. Because I could talk to my father. My father would sit down and talk to me, and he'd say, look, we can talk about anything. That was my normal. I could go to my father and talk to him about, it didn't matter what it was. A boy could have been trying to get my phone number. Daddy, look, this boy was trying to get my number today, and he got on my nerves. I told him I'm not dating yet. Like, and he tried to talk me out of it. And he's like, oh no, baby girl, you stick to your guns. You're about your education. You're very, talented and gifted. There's a lot that you can be doing with your time. And I appreciate the fact that you are doing those positive things with your time. Yeah, you're not like the other children, and that's fine. Because, statistically speaking, I was supposed to be the slower child. Or that label was placed on me to be the slower child. The child that learned at a slower pace. The child that learned more hands-on versus in a classroom setting. And so I learned very early on the difference when it came to what normal was for me and those around me. And learning that, I was able to actually grow. And that's a hard thing to do when you're not accepting of yourself or anyone else. If you don't even value your own sensibilities, trust your own judgment, actually put full effort into knowing who you are, taking care of yourself, the idea and concept of normalcy is going to ravage you. And for some of my classmates, it did. And because I was not immersed into everything they were doing, I could sit back and learn based off watching what they were doing. Okay, I know not to make that mistake. Now, that is wisdom. When you can sit back and just kind of notice and pay attention to how things are being done, how things are being taught, how they're, being spoken, how people act, how they can wear a mask, and discernment of when that mask comes off, and you learn, okay, no, that's not a real friend. That's not how we do that. Or, no, I'm not ready for sex yet, so I'm not going to put myself in that situation. If that's their normal, okay, you know, that's just their normal. I'm not going to judge them, but you do you and I do me. And that is how I pretty much kind of lived my life when it came to normalcy. Because I knew everything that takes place in life is normal for someone and abnormal for someone else. So each person's views are going to be different, and which makes it to the point to where you're not going to always agree with someone, but there's a space and opportunity for you to say, okay, I see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm not going to bite your head off because that's how you see things. But I can understand. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's what's up. I'm not going to down you for that. That's not cool. That's not right. And it's not fair in any parts of life. Because you don't want to be a hindrance to someone who is learning or adjusting or trying to figure out their way. Because we can actually be stumbling blocks for people when it comes to normalcy. At times in life, there will be people that you will come into contact with who are going to try to beat you down with the Bible, or beat you down with the science, or beat you down with something, trying to conform you and make you change into something that may not be for you. And we have to learn how to say, okay, this is not going to work. We're not going to be able to, you know, deal with each other on this level because you and I have two separate views, and you're not willing to listen and understand me, but you want me to listen and understand you. And in effect, being able to say, this is that moment where I'm going to go my way and I'm going to let you go your way, and I'm going to wish you well. No confrontation. No violence. Nobody's taking verbal assault shots from anybody. You have not murdered that person's vibe for the day, and they have not murdered yours. Because you're stable enough to understand that normal is an idea. It's a concept, which does not necessarily make it real to you, but to that person it may be. or vice versa. And knowing how to say, okay, that's cool, we're not going to always agree, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you, so, don't judge me back. And it can actually be a great conversation with others. Either way it goes, someone learns from this. And like the gentleman was saying, it's the wisdom in which everybody seeks. And if we have it, we should share it. Because out of 40 people that could be listening, someone is going to take something helpful from it. And that's my only goal with this topic today. Let's end arguments. Let's end violence. Let's save ourselves some steps in life. Let's be proactive and say, okay, look, this person's normal is not my normal. Cool. But I don't have to hate you. You don't have to hate me. It's enough hate floating around. But the very topic of normalcy can bring about change, good or bad, but change nonetheless. And it's how we deal with it that makes a very big difference now and what's to come in the future. Because generations after we're gone, this is still going to be an idea, a concept, because it changes way too often. It's like a fad almost, but it's a baseline to us that's wired into us as being humans. We all have weaknesses. We all have sadness. We all experience things that changes our perception, but it's all in how we handle it. As I stated earlier, normalcy has the ability to be changed simply by what is a popular view at certain times. So let's accept our normalcy and other people's normalcy as well, because they still have the opportunity to change for the better. Much love and respect to you all, and thank you for taking the time to listen. And I welcome you back anytime. Big shout out to those who are listening on YouTube, who are listening on Spotify and so many other outlets where my podcasts go. And for my Wisdom app listeners, thank you. And you are free to come in and speak anytime when I'm on. Have a great day, and keep in mind, normalcy is whatever you make it because of how you see it. Accept yours and chill when it comes to others. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Much love and respect. Till next time. Bye-bye. You have been listening to Inspire Our podcast by TN1 Radio, the talk show podcast station. Know that you are loved, cherished, and needed. So keep your head up and your heart light. Until the next time, have a blessed and productive week. I've been your host, Tony Williams.